Good afternoon, everyone. If you can hear my voice, I am about to enter the June Keys penguin habitat to give our penguins a nice little afternoon snack. So if you want to check that out, come on over to the habitat. This is the second of 3 feeds for the day for our birds. So this might not be everybody eats, but that's okay. We like to offer them the food 3 times a day and they get to decide how hungry they are. You may notice that some of our birds look a little funky. They are going through a catastrophic molt. This is something that penguins have to do every year. They have to keep their feathers in tip-top shape. So Miss Jade here, I'm not going to point, but she's the bird that I'm walking towards right here. She's going through a full molt, whereas most of the other birds have already completed their molt. So they're looking nice and snazzy. So I'm going to get off of the mic just for a few minutes while I attempt to feed some of our birds. But I just wanted to let you know that's what I was going to do if you wanted to see how our penguins eat. They all get hand-fed. So they get 2 types of fish, herring and capelin. Some prefer herring, some prefer capelin. And they're all a little bit different. Miss Cleopatra here, who I'm offering a herring to, she tends to be a little bit more demanding than some of the others at the bucket. So I like to give her fish first so everyone else can get a chance. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm doing in just a few minutes. But there are still a few birds that haven't eaten yet, and I want to make sure they get a chance to. If you're just joining us, I'm in the middle of feeding our Magellanic penguins. This tends to be kind of a casual feed. If they haven't gotten a chance to eat yet, this is usually the feed they get a little bit more hungry at. But it's our middle feed, so we offer our birds food 3 times a day. Right now, the appetites of our birds isn't super huge because they've recently gone through a yearly molt. And when they prepare for that molt, they bulk up ahead of time. They stay on land for about 5 weeks, and then they head out to migrate. So our birds are kind of readjusting to the seasons right now. They're finishing up their molt, and they're getting ready for their migration season. usually have a little bit more success at our last feed. That's when the birds act like they have not eaten all day, even though they get offered food 3 times a day. This is a stare, and he decided he only wanted 2, not 3 herring. Herring's the larger fish that we offer our birds, and capelin is the smaller one. And if you're wondering what this clipboard is, this is actually logging every fish that our birds eat. So we have 23 penguins. Got to keep a close track on them because it's easy to kind of let one bird go a day or 2 without eating when you have 23. So by putting this food in a log, we can not only see what our birds are eating and keep close track of it, but make sure everyone's healthy. If they go a day without eating, that's usually okay, but if they go 2 to 3 days without eating, we usually let our vet staff know. That really only happens if something's going on inside of them that we're not sure of, or it's a post-molt time. So that can get a little bit confusing because when they are done or they're post-molt, they don't want to eat naturally. So that can kind of not be so easy when you're taking care of these guys, but I've worked with them for about 8, maybe a little bit longer, but about 8 years. We started with 4 birds from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So Magellanic penguins are found in Chile, Argentina, and the Falkland Islands. We think these guys were in the Falkland Islands and kind of trying to migrate, and they made a weird U-turn or got lost along the way looking for fish, and they ended up in Brazil. So they were deemed unreleasable, and those birds are Robbie, Roxy, Kate, and Avery, but their needing a home made us able to build a penguin habitat. So we started with about 10 birds, and now we have 23. 13 of them did hatch here at the aquarium. Some came to us from other facilities, like the San Francisco Zoo. They actually have the largest population of Magellanic penguins. And we participate in an SSP or species survival plan with these guys. That means that we trade them to different facilities to kind of spread out their genetics. So while you do grow quite attached to them, you know that they may find love at another facility. We have 13 males and 10 females. That's one of our females right there. Her name is Dee. She's one of the only birds that actually doesn't mind eating herring and capelin. Most birds kind of pick one that they like the most, and that's really the only fish they're going to eat. But at certain times of the year, they kind of change their diet. So people kind of always wonder how we take care of these guys. And the birds, if you listen to them, they do a lot of work for you. So in this case, everyone's in a colony. If anyone was kind of out to the side or maybe laying in a weird location, Jade, for example, that's not a normal place that she hangs out, but she's actually going through her molt right now. So what she's doing is normal. She's hanging out in the shade, making sure she doesn't get too hot, since she's not going to go in the water during molt. Although some of our birds here at the aquarium do, in their natural habitat they don't, because that feather structure is what keeps them dry in their natural habitat. Their feathers overlap on top of each other. All that work, and he still threw the fish on the ground. So their feathers overlap on top of each other, keeping their skin dry. So when they're in cooler water like this, well, this is 60 degrees, but when they're in cooler water, they stay nice and dry and insulated. But their feathers do become worn. So once a year, penguins go through something called a catastrophic molt. All species of penguins go through this. Ours just happen to go through it in the summer. So they follow a pretty strict cycle. They go through a 4-month migration, and then they go through a settlement phase where they would find a place on land to nest. And if you're curious as to what their natural habitat looks like, our exhibit does a pretty good job modeling that. But behind you where the penguin statues are, that's actually in Chile. That's their natural habitat right there. So everybody kind of comes on land, tries to find an area to build a nest. If they get lucky, there's a plant by them and they can kind of have some shade. But other than that, they basically just dig or burrow and make a hole in the ground. The male does that. He arrives about 3 weeks prior to the female to get that ready. And if the female has been with that male before, they do mate for life. Or maybe he's just trying to impress the lady. If that nest site is up to her standards, she will lay 2 eggs. And then both male and female will take turns incubating and also brooding or raising the chicks. Here at the aquarium, we keep them with their parents for about 20 to 24 days. But if you look at all the holes behind me, there's 9 of them. Those are 9 nests that our birds can pair off in. And that's where they take care of raising their chicks. But since it opens right on up to the exhibit, we want the chicks to naturally explore, leave that burrow, but we'd actually prefer if they did that when they were a little bit older so they could fend for themselves. The adults tend to not be super nice to young, innocent chicks because that can bring upon predators. So we take them behind the scenes, we raise them for a few months. They don't really have to learn how to swim, that's an innate or a built-in ability for them, but we do kind of condition or help them basically look like they know what they're doing, because when they first learn to swim, they're pretty buoyant, so their feet will fly up in the air, and they don't really quite look like a penguin that is ready to be out in the habitat. And that'll also make the adults kind of pick on them a little bit, because again, that's going to bring on predators too if you look a little different from the rest of your friends. So they get swimming lessons behind the scenes, and then they come out and about. And that's usually around May to June if we have chicks. Like I mentioned, these guys follow a pretty strict cycle, so you kind of know what kind of trends they're going to go through, and that really does help with their health care. They do get yearly physicals, so for the most part, these guys are only handled if it's up to them or if we need to do something. But once a year, we do get a blood sample. We make sure we have another accurate weight, try to weigh them throughout the year, but since they're down in our animal hospital, Molina Animal Care Center, perfect opportunity to do that. We look inside their mouths, their eyes, make sure they're healthy, and then that's basically the last time that they really have to do anything for us. We just ask that they come up to the bucket and eat fish, otherwise they can do their penguin business. If you're interested in hanging out with these guys, we do offer penguin encounters 3 days a week, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and you get a chance to hang out with these guys where you guys are standing before we're open for about a half hour. I have about 5 to 6 willing participants. The rest of the members of the habitat kind of do their own penguin thing. But it looks like everyone's done eating for now. I'll be back out here at about 3:45 to 4 to give these guys their dinner. We give them food 2 to 3 times a day. Restaurant quality sustainable herring and capelin. And they do a pretty good job eating. They're not the most food-motivated animal out there. They're actually a little bit more motivated by interactions that I spend out on the habitat here or with each other. But they do enjoy their fish. Right now, Wally has had the most fish. He's actually had 8 herring and 1 capelin. So he's probably not going to eat any more for the day, but that's all right. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. We are a nonprofit institution, so your paid admission is going right back to these birds, or all the animals here at the aquarium, whether it's to give them the health care they need or anything else that they need. So thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your day here.